Hello, everyone. Our program will begin in just a moment. Good day, everyone. Our program will begin in just a moment. Thank you for joining us. Good day, everyone. Welcome to Advocacy Anywhere, Israel at War, a weekly series featuring programs surrounding the evolving situation in Israel and Gaza, understanding its impact around the world, and sharing action items that you can take from wherever you are. On October 7th, Hamas, the Iran-backed terror group controlling Gaza, launched an unprovoked and vicious surprise attack on Israel. This brazen act of aggression marked a critical turning point, propelling Hamas into the international spotlight and prompting an examination of its motives and tactics. Joining us today to help answer questions about Hamas, what is Hamas, what are the group's origins, how did we get to where we are today, is Major General Reserve Amos Gilead, former senior military and defense ministry official and current executive director of the Institute for Policy and Strategy at Reichman University. General Gilead will be in conversation with AJC's very own Jerusalem director, Lieutenant Colonel Reserve Avital Leibovich. After we hear from our guest, we will take your questions. You may email your question to questions@ajc.org. That's questions plural, or you can use the Q&A feature in Zoom. Avital, floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel, and hello, everyone from Israel. You know, moments ago, we watched with great emotional stress, I would say, the return of yet another two Israeli hostages, two women that have been returned by Hamas and passed to the Red Cross, and from the Red Cross to the Israeli Defense Forces. And we've been seeing these staging of returning the hostages almost every evening here in Israel. Actually, the entire country is glued to their TV screens every night between 4 o'clock in the afternoon and midnight Israel time. And Hamas is putting on a show. Every evening, it's a new kind of show with drones, with lighting, with characters who are standing and surrounded their military cars. And today we want to dive down a little bit and investigate this terror body called Hamas. And there's no one else better to help me in this investigation than Major General in Reserve Amos Gilead. So Amos, let's begin with the basics. What exactly is Hamas? Is it a fanatic religious group? Is it an extreme ideological terror group? Is it a political party? Is it all of the above? Please help us shed light in this. And also, if you can also put your finger on the main issues of the Charter of Hamas. What exactly does the Charter of Hamas enhance?
Hello, Avital. Hello, everybody. Hamas has been established 14th December 1987. So they're going to celebrate, it's vicious, but they're going to celebrate birthday. They will bring to each other blood and they will drink the blood of the Jews. That's what they dream of. Hamas today, I don't want to go to their history. Or Hamas is a movement, it's a combination of government, terror organization, violent organization, social organization, religious movement. They are a branch of Muslim Brothers, and altogether they are combined with government on the whole area of Gaza. The whole area of Gaza is quite small. It's 365 square kilometers with 2.2 million people. Now, Gaza was given by Israel based on the agreements with the PLO, and Gaza and West Bank used to be one integral entity. However, what happened is in 2007, Hamas made coup d'etat, violent, very violent, against the PLO and against the PA. Palestinian Authority is product of our agreements with PLO. It's a national authority of the Palestinians. And they made violent, they were treated violently in an unbelievable way. I used to be at that time the head of our political military affairs, and afterwards, some months afterwards, I was nominated. I was called back by the Minister of Defense to be the coordinator of the territories. Namely, I was responsible for the Palestinian territories. Like Abu Mazen, I was not elected, he was not elected. I did have the illusion that all Palestinians would vote for me, but I didn't have the guts to offer myself. So what happened, I will never forget it. Thousands of Palestinians ran away from the violent units, death units of Hamas, and I asked the Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority, Salam Fayyad, what would happen to them? He said, you would take them, Israel. I said, why we? I mean, we are Israelis. Take care of them. He said, no. I'm sitting in Ramallah. Allah will help them. I said, God is not available when it's needed. At least this is the experience of the Jewish people. I'm not sure about the Palestinians. However, you take them. And he took them, he put them in the desert. Now, Hamas is very vicious, violent movement that its goal, real goal, is to exterminate the state of Israel. I'm repeating it because sometimes they look better because they are maybe better than others in making or creating image. They are not hiding what I'm sharing with you. Their goal is to exterminate Israel. Since they have been established in December 14th, 1987, they are devoted to this mission. Not immediately, it took some time, but that's history. Today, they are controlling, or until 6th of October, until 7th of October, they have controlled Gaza, and they created two Gaza. The Gaza over, I mean, it's like an entity, very poor entity, 2.2 million people, most of the 90% hardly have something to eat. They do have food because of the international support. Half, at least, officially unemployed, 70% youngsters, and the whole entity is very poor and miserable, and they don't have resources. And we used to supply them with electricity, with water, to take care of the sewage, everything. Underground, they have built with billions of shekels or hundreds of millions of dollars, underground city, 500 kilometers of tunnels. And the idea was to govern Gaza while preparing the infrastructure that will enable them to jump over Israel to the West Bank, and then from both sides, West Bank or Judea and Samaria, and Gaza to attack Israel and to destroy it. In the last years, they have added something very substantial, very significant, and very important. They are Sunni. You know, the Islam is divided to Sunnis and Shiites. I don't want to elaborate it. The Sunnis are ideological enemies of the Shiite Iranians. However, the Islamic Republic of Iran is determined to destroy the state of Israel. So many hate Israel and the Jews. That's not new in our history, unfortunately. However, based on operational considerations, they have decided to support Hamastan. Hamastan has established military establishment with battalions, brigades, and so on. It's a military structure, military entity, terror entity. Most of the budget, the military budget, has come or is coming from the Islamic Republic of Iran in spite of the differences. The modus operandi of the Islamic Republic of Iran is to support whoever is ready to exterminate Israel and to establish the Shiite kingdom at the expense of the Sunni Arab states in the Middle East. If you are with me, I'm supporting you, even I hate you. If you are against me, even I love you, I kill you. That's the idea. Now we need to add another factor, that is the small kingdom of Qatar. Qatar, I'm not sure you know, they do have only 350,000 citizens. I'm repeating it, it's very important. 350,000 people, citizens, plus slaves. Many of them coming from India, Pakistan, they are very rich. Very rich is to say the least. They are uniquely rich because of the natural gas. They do have resources, and they are using their money, it's unbelievable, to encourage Muslim brothers, entities that threatening to destroy the existing order. The most important historically, strategically, politically example is Egypt. Egypt is the biggest country, Arab country in the Middle East. Today, they do have 110 million people, citizens, all of them Egyptians. Every 10 months, they do have another 1 million people. Now, the idea of Muslim Brothers was to take over Egypt, to join hands with Turkey, the only country today in the Middle East that is dominated by Muslim Brothers, AKP it's called, and Hamas, they are the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brothers with the same ideology. And Hamas used to cooperate with ISIS in Sinai in order to topple the Egyptian regime. And they succeeded between 2011 and 2013. So Hamas, they are enemies of Egypt, enemies of the whole Arab world. If you look around in the whole Middle East, you will fail to find Muslim brother government beside two entities. The first is Turkey, powerful country in the Middle East, and the second is Hamas in Gaza.
So I do want to talk to you later about Turkey, but I want to ask you
before that. Now, I would like to share with you that they have tried many times to exterminate Israeli settlements, villages. They built with huge sums of money tunnels. We developed in Israel unprecedented technology and intelligence that enabled us to destroy it. But I remember I used to brief many about it. Their dream was, if I use a famous saying, to penetrate underground to Nahal Oz, for example, and on Friday to kill and to murder all kibbutz members. So what we are facing now, what we have faced is 7th of October, it's not new in their perception. It seems today now in retrospect that our intelligence has identified the preparations to invade to Israel. We failed. This is fiasco that is unprecedented, severest one since, even worse than Yom Kippur War. Maybe I'll talk about it if we have time, if Vital will permit me or not. But today we are facing the challenge to destroy this vicious entity because they ordered as directive the terrorists to commit atrocities, murders, rapes, beheading, stabbing babies, children, whoever, and kidnapping whoever they. So they, what they have done is it suits exactly the ideology and strategy of Hamas. So this is combination of government, military, terror, vicious terror organization. Now they are very similar to ISIS.
So I want to ask you the following question. The Palestinian Authority declared itself a state in November 2012, 11 years ago. In contrast, Hamas, as you mentioned, presents itself in Gaza as some kind of a governing movement. Can you shed light on the relations between the two? Do they have mutual interests? Are they bitter enemies? And I'm raising this question because often in media, you can see quotes of numbers from the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza. And that's not Fatah, that's Hamas. So is the Palestinian Authority representatives in Gaza? Is there not? Because we know the situation on the ground in the West Bank is totally in favor of Hamas in terms of the people's support. But between the two parties, what kind of relations do they have?
I'm not sure about, I can talk about it 10 hours at least, about the dreams of Palestinians. Most of them, all of them want Israel to disappear, but that's not the issue. The issue is realpolitik. We have signed with PLO, the sole representative that was recognized by the United Nations. I mean, they represent the Palestinian people, like a peace treaty, recognizing Israel and so on. That's history. Arafat, I was at the time the head of our national intelligence assessment. I shared with our leaders that Arafat would launch in 2000 horrible, terrible, unprecedented terror attack against Israel because he wanted to break the Israeli will and then to bake Israel to accept his perception of peace that was supposed to include right of return. This is code name of the destroying Israel. Today, we are having a cooperation with the Palestinian Authority, led by Abu Mazen, Mahmoud Abbas. Mahmoud Abbas, unlike his predecessor, is against terror. And furthermore, I used to be also the coordinator, namely, like Abu Mazen, I was responsible for the territories. We have developed with them, with the PA, very fruitful, useful security, defense, intelligence cooperation. Now, if you ask me whether we can give them, like the Americans want, sovereignty or two-state solution, we cannot, as long as they are not even similar to the counter-terror capabilities we do have in Israel. However, they have been very useful because, first of all, they are taking care of the variety of areas that belong to governments, like sewage, education, water. We are exempted to deal with it. It's financed from outside, by Europe. There is effort by United States of America to build for them positive military forces, security forces, not military, security forces, led by three-star general from United States of America. They do have, there is cooperation, they are controlling their own businesses, and so on and so on. What we are lacking against their expectations, there is no way for a long time to give them what the Americans are pressing on us, what Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu has declared officially in Bar Ilan, the famous historic Bar Ilan speech that he favored a two-state solution. And the idea is still valid. So the Palestinian Authority, they are considering Hamas as enemies because Hamas wants to destroy them. In 2014, Hamas tried to murder Abu Mazen. Who discovered it? Who exposed it? Israeli. ISA, the Israeli Shabak, and military intelligence. And we shared this plot with Abu Mazen. He got crazy. He complained to Qatar, and Qatar invited both Hamas and Fatah and PA to lunch and wished them all the best. Today, we are in very challenging situation. The atrocities, I am recommending whoever can do it. Avital is coming from the IDF spokesperson, as I remember a long time ago. and it's a must to watch. It's very difficult. The movie that has been prepared by the IDF spokesman unit about the atrocities. The atrocity is terrible. You see babies, as I mentioned. However, it's not a matter of violence by individuals. It's a matter of orders that we got the documents and we do have the investigations. They've got orders to break Israel through terrible, vicious, cruel murders. And they succeeded too much, succeeded cynically. And that's why we don't have any option rather than to destroy this Hamastan combination of terror government entity. How long it will take? 1 week, 2 weeks, 2 years, 3 years. It's not important. We need to destroy them. Even United States, the president keeps saying, President Biden, that from his point of view, we need to destroy Hamas. Not American forces, but Israel. And if we want, I'm sure we will be successful about it. And successful, it's not easy the way I'm sharing with you because it's crowded area, populated area. It's very complicated militarily, strategically. But let's assume that we complete the mission. So the question will be exit strategy. Unfortunately, because of political reasons, the government, Netanyahu government does not have any strategic exit strategy. They do have determination, as Mr. Prime Minister Netanyahu has some hours ago with Blinken. He said, we are state of Israel, I'm the leader of Israel, we are determined to destroy Hamastan. And he's right. But the question is, okay, we have destroyed it. Who would control, who will take care of 2.2 million Palestinians? Some official answers in Israel say, we don't care. We need to care because we don't have option. Again, based on my personal experience as the one who was responsible twice in his life on this area, we need to find somebody. We can do it ourselves. That will be nightmare. It's a burden to control in West Bank and Gaza 5 million Palestinians. It will divert our energies from the main threat to Israel is not Hamas. The main threat is Iran and Hezbollah and the proxies and so on and so on and so on. We need to keep operational capability. So we need to give it to somebody. The vision of the United States. And I would like to share with you. I haven't seen in my life. I am involved in a very intimate, valuable military intelligence cooperation with US government, namely the leading intelligence services like CIA, DIA, NSA, and the Pentagon and the OSD and the National Security Council. I'm doing it for 50 years. Can you imagine? It's embarrassing to admit it, but with friends in AJC, I can allow myself to do it. So the way United States is supporting us immediately now, it's unbelievable, unprecedented. It's symbolizing the bipartisan friendship that we do have with the United States based on the shared democratic shared values and the love of US, I hope everybody, to Israel, carriers, ammunition, support, political support. I mean, the speeches of Biden, so moving. I am not biased to any party, but the friendship from the United States, I feel grateful. And I know to appreciate because I can compare it to all relevant periods of time that I was in the service. It's unprecedented. However, the United States is not doing it only for the love, not for the sake of love. They're doing it for strategic goals. And if I summarize it, what they want, United States, is to destroy Hamas, based on Hamas, to bring in PA or Palestinian Authority, because without the Palestinians, after the massacre after the attacks by Hamas, no Arab country will be ready to enhance and to rebuild the alliance led by the United States. If you ask me, we do have two solutions to the Iranian threat. First is our military might, and the second one is strategic, to be smart strategically, is to be part of the alliance built or rebuilt by the United States that would consist of Egypt, that we do have peace treaty, Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, that is unbelievably important to our national security. They give Israel strategic depth. It's not known to most Israelis. Extension of or extending the peace, Abraham Accords, to historic peace treaty with Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is interested in strategic alliance with the United States, because Mohammed bin Salman, his dream, he has a dream to be the leader of the Islamic world. Islamic world, mainly its economic power. Economic power cannot be disconnected from the military guarantees. Military guarantees can come from the United States. That's why they want strategic alliance with the United States, and they are ready to pay with normalization. And that's, I think, the important vision of exit strategy. If we miss the exit strategy, or if we follow what Prime Minister Netanyahu has said or kept saying or keeps saying, we are not going to allow Palestinian Authority because they are terror organization. It's not true, it's propaganda. I know that all details about this entity. And again, I warned against Arafat, but I think Abu Mazen is different. And we need them to energize the axis of peace, stability, Pax Americana, vis-a-vis the axis of evil, led by Iran, supported by Russia, and supported in a different way by China. I mean, Gaza, it looks like local issue, it's global. And here we are meeting vested interests of national security of the United States. That's another reason why the United States and the president are involved in this issue. And about our hostages, it's unbelievable what the president of the United States, Joe Biden, is doing. It's beyond any dream or fantasy I did have in my life. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember the speech that President Biden gave, I think, a few days after the atrocities of October 7th. And we were really glued to that speech. And the way he spoke, I think every single Israeli felt that this was like some sort of a protecting father, because he was so emotional, so sincere. And I definitely share your sentiment about the great support. Now, you mentioned Yasser Arafat. And Yasser Arafat, as you well know, was considered a national symbol for the Palestinians. Take me to Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas symbol. Who is he exactly? What is he actually representing? Is he really a psychopath, like the Israeli media says? Does he have a calculated kind of character? As a former intelligence officer, I'm sure that you have a lot of information about him.
First of all, he spent 23 years in our jail. And we discovered cancer in his head. He was supposed to die in the jail, and we saved his life. I never call our enemies psychopaths, because most of them, I mean, in this area are not sane. But if you call somebody insane, it means you are devaluate the danger from him. Saddam Hussein was psychopath. I was responsible for him. Dr. Bashar Assad, for sure, he's psychopath because he's a doctor, a real doctor, MD. He takes your eyes without prescription, and he does it automatically if you are his enemy, and most serious are his enemy. But Yahya Sinwar, we released them from our jail. They are leadership officially, because they do have, even, I'm not sure you know, they do have democratic election. He almost lost the election in Gaza. because many reasons. I don't want to enter to them. It's not important now. And today, Yahya Sanawar and Muhammad Deif, his colleague, he lost one hand, one eye, but we failed to kill him. Sanawar believes that he is like Salah ad-Din, envoy of Allah, that his mission is, and he's capable to do it, to destroy Israel. He knows Israel because that's what he seeks, because he spent 23 years in jail. And he speaks fluent Hebrew, and he took some academic courses. I'm not sure our hostages are allowed to continue their academic studies in the cells or the tunnels of Hamas. I'm cynical, of course, if you don't understand me. So he believes that he's smart enough to mislead us. In a way, I need to admit that he succeeded. In spite of the fact we do have one of the best intelligence services, in retrospect, we did have the all relevant information, valuable intel information, but we missed it because our leaders of the intelligence believed that we succeeded to buy him or to bribe him. How come? Yahya Sanawar is responsible for the government. He is responsible for the terror organization. We allowed the Palestinians, after we attacked the Hamas, or attacked them again and again, there was impression in Israel, and he contributed to it, that we succeeded in Israel, that's what they saw, to deter him while bribing him with 20,000 workers in Israel. Each worker used to have salary of 10 times than in Gaza, the same job. But they were very rich because they do have tunnels, they are smuggling weapons, merchandise, everything. And he contributed to this illusion in spite of the valuable information we did have. So we neglected it. The IDF and it was Sukkot, the last day, Simchat Torah. Simchat Torah is a vacation day, and the elite of Israel didn't believe they would attack us in spite of this strategic early warning, signs, and valuable information. It's unbelievable. As the one who was responsible for the National Intelligence Assessment, I feel sad. This is the first time I'm really sad, because this was used to be my most important project, to be able to share with the government of Israel professionally reliable and accurate national intelligence assessments. So Yahya Sanawar, he made, I think, two mistakes because of his character. The first mistake, he ordered to launch a very cruel, brutal attack with atrocities that I've just mentioned. His original way of thinking was, and I must say professionally maybe it was a good one, that if they would be successful to plant secret cells all over the Negev, to take over leading villages like Kiryat Gat or neighborhoods of Beersheba, he will create the impression, or he leaves the impression that we are doomed. And then we will be attacked by the axis of evil, namely Hezbollah, or Iranian militias from Syria, from Iraq, and Houthis. They are Yemenis that are like in Hezbollah, they are entity dominated by Hezbollah at the expense of sovereign Yemen, sovereign Lebanon, and so on. He failed twice, I think. First of all, the atrocities are not leaving us with any option rather than to destroy Hamas. I've mentioned it, I would like to share it with you again. The second one, with all due respect, we are attacked from all sides, by Hezbollah, from Syria, not from Iraq, but from Yemen. But we are coping with it efficiently, and they are not ready, his Iranian Hezbollah friends, to enter to full scope or full scale confrontation with Israel. Namely, attacking Tel Aviv by one, they do have 150,000 rockets at Hezbollah. If they do it, first of all, we do have fantastic defense systems that have proven themselves. Secondly, we will attack back, and from Hezbollah will be destroyed. They know it. That's why Nasrallah shared with Salah Harouri, the number 2 in Hamas, the military Hamas, terror Hamas. We love you, but not so much as to help you significantly. The leader of Iran, Khamenei, has shared the same messages with Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas that is residing in Qatar. So that's the story.
You mentioned Qatar a few times, and I want to take you to Turkey. We've all witnessed Israel's attempts in the last year or so to try and get into some kind of a relationship with Turkey, more based on economic trade, tourism, those kind of things. Of course, I'm not talking about any strategic cooperation. But Turkey is also a host to senior Hamas leadership. Could you talk us a little bit about the relations between Turkey and Hamas and how each side is really benefiting from these relations?
Yes, of course. Hamas is, they represent the Muslim Brothers, they are the Palestinian branch of them. In some ways, I don't want to go to the details. Turkey is the only powerful state that is dominated by AKP, the Turkish Muslim Brothers. Now, they are considering Hamas as colleagues and friends, but based on their interests, they try to improve the relations with Israel. So they asked the military or terror leaders of Hamas to leave temporarily Turkey. And Salah Harouri, they used to be in Istanbul or Ankara. Now you can find him in Beirut. They allowed Hamas to functionize from Turkey, the political wing, not the military wing. Now, Turkey is strategically important state, part of NATO, used to be a strategic ally of the United States and Israel. I remember our relation with them, I used to host them. But I've come to a conclusion, very sad one. The moment you are dominated by Islamic religious political powers or forces, there is no real hope for real strategic cooperation between us and them. Iran used to be our best friend. When I look different, better, I think. When I used to be younger, I was in Iran. I was stationed there. Their friendship was so valuable. The moment Islamic Republic of Iran took over, Iran has become our existential threat. The moment they get to a nuclear weapon, they are very close, combined with their ideology to destroy Israel, combined with the proxies, with the missiles, with the rocket. Look what they're doing to the Russians, to Europeans, namely Ukraine. Right. So altogether, I used to be in excellent relation with them. I met with the number 2 or right hand of Erdogan. It's a matter of 20 years ago, and I got back with recommendation to cut all our defense intelligence cooperation with Turkey. It was denied on the spot in Israel because of the value of it. It took 5 years before our relations collapsed. Now, Erdogan has Israel and Turkey share strategic interests for cooperation. But the moment it comes to the emotional threat to the Muslim Brothers in Gaza, in this case, he becomes again and again and again fanatic, tough, extremist leader. He is very dangerous to us. I think I was against any cooperation with them since Erdogan took over. I'm really fond of our relations that used to be a long time ago before Erdogan. As long as he's in power, we need to be very cautious. They will not cut the flights or economic cooperation or exchange because it's too valuable. And we need to be cautious. Iran is our main problem, not Turkey. But that's the picture.
But I have a last question before we open it to Q&A. I just returned from a few weeks in the north of reserve duty, and Hamas is also present in Lebanon.
Yes.
And we've seen Hamas being active in the last 7 weeks or so, firing rockets and so on. Can you share with us what is Hamas Lebanon's role and how does it really cooperate with Hezbollah?
Yeah.
Do they have mutual interests? Do they have separate interests?
Hamas, Sunnis, Muslim brothers, enemies of Iran have become the best friends of Iran based on common goal to destroy Israel. Hezbollah is a cancer at the expense of the legitimate Republic of Lebanon. The Republic of Lebanon does not exist. They are members, they are members of United Nations, but they do have official sovereignty, but they lost sovereignty of Lebanon. And Hezbollah has established between Beirut and our border new entity, unofficial but very powerful, Hezbollah, 150,000 rockets, hundreds of missiles. The difference is guidance. Political, I mean, there is no president in Lebanon. The president officially is very important because Iran is not allowing to elect president that is not their candidate to be puppet in their hands. And they do want only one guy from among the Christians, Frangia. Frangia is well-known families. It used to be collaborators of Hafez Assad and today Syria in different way. And the whole country is paralyzed. You know, Lebanon economy used to be very powerful. Today, if you open, you want electricity, there is no electricity in Beirut. Beirut used to be so beautiful. If you want to, you are opening, you want food, there is no food. You want doctor, there is no doctor. If you want to pay with Lebanese pounds, it's worthless. It's a tragedy, and the Iranians are enhancing Hezbollah in order to be like cancer in body. Now, Hamas, they are partners, as I mentioned. So they allowed them to establish, to build in the Hezbollah area, bases of Hamas in order to launch rockets in time of confrontation like we're having now with Gaza. They are attacking us from the north with clear permission of Hezbollah. And the moment you complain to Hezbollah through mediators, they say, what can we do? It's Palestinians. They cannot pee, they cannot drink a glass of water without written permission by Hezbollah. They cannot. So Hamas, today, from Hamas point of view, we are surrounded from two fronts. The southern one, Gaza, Hamastan, and the northern one is Lebanon. I hope that we will put an end to it, or we will diminish it very soon in Lebanon.
Yeah, I share your hope. Thank you for a detailed answer until now. I'm sure, and I see the number of questions piling it up. Daniel, I'll give it to you over for the questions.
Thank you, Avital. And yes, we've got some time remaining to go through actually a lot of questions that we've received. I'll ask two at the start that is related to what you had just kind of finished with, which is destroying Hamas. Richard Berkman in Philadelphia is asking, is it possible to militarily destroy Hamas and its tunnels in South Gaza while moving civilians to safer areas in the south and providing sufficient aid? And Adam Chase is asking, how do you eliminate Hamas without creating an environment where they can recruit new supporters, so maybe strengthening them?
It's possible military, of course. It's complicated, but we have taken over very quickly the northern and some parts of Gaza. We need to take care of the humanitarian. The humanitarian dimension is very important. We need to be very cautious about the population. Is it easy? No. Is it straw like the war in Falkland was described? No, it's the opposite. Is it possible? It's possible and necessary. I don't want to go to details how we are going to do it. The humanitarian dimension is very important, strategically, humanitarian speaking, morally speaking, and so on. That's very clear. That's our policy. Easy to say, difficult to implement, but we are determined to implement. I mean, if you tackle the humanitarian dimension rightly, it gives you time. That's militarily speaking. Morally speaking, there are human beings. So, I mean, the ones who are not involved in terror, we must not touch them.
Thank you. Our next question from Naomi Weinberger in Toronto. Do you think there's currently a consensus in Hamas's own leadership over the current direction of Hamas?
Yes, but if you ask, no, it's not if you ask me. Based on my long-standing information and knowledge, Sanawar has consulted with Mohammed Deif and Marwan Issa, less known, the military terror leadership in Gaza. They haven't consulted with the leadership in Qatar. I'm sure they were surprised by this whole terror attack. They didn't know because Sanawar wanted to keep it secret. And if he shared it with the leadership in Qatar, anyway, it seems to me that he's not appreciating them so much. But today, there are no differences between them.
Thank you. Our next question from Ellie Klein in Houston. Can you talk a little bit about Hamas's rise and their eventual election to power? What were their promises to the Gazan people?
Very simple. It's not a United States democracy. I mean, they force you to accept what they say. If you don't agree, you are dead or tortured. I mean, this is the democracy in the Middle East. There is so-called democracy in Hamas, but they don't care what the citizens of Gaza, I mean, when they got the vote for Hamas during the elections that was forced on us by the United States, I tried to prevent it. I failed because one of the senior officials, I don't want to mention his name, without his permission, he told me, you know, this is the God will. I said, which God? He said, President of the United States. The moment he gives order, that's like God order. Now, what they promised, nothing. What they can promise, poverty, misery, terrible life, dictatorship, poor conditions, poverty. Of course, they didn't promise it, but that's what they can promise. I mean, we are not talking about democracy. We are talking about one of the worst dictatorships.
Yeah, we'll just add one sentence that sometimes, you know, I'm being asked, why are the people of Gaza not marching in the streets, trying to change their destiny, protesting, and so on? And that's exactly the reason, because it's a dictatorship and they're not permitted to do that. And if they'll do that, they will be eliminated very quickly on the spot. So that option does not exist. And even anti-government sentiment, which used to be on social media, you know, people would use an initial and say some things, write some things against Hamas, that also has really significantly gone down in terms of quantity. So
following what Avital says, it's impossible until 6th of October at least for Gaza, whoever lives there, to share with his neighbor his bad feelings about Hamas. He is arrested immediately. He is tortured in a terrible way. He can be executed from time to time. They are executing Palestinians in Gaza based on allegations that they are agents of Mossad or military. It's bullshit. It's not agents or not. I mean, it's you need to understand that Hamastan is terrible dictatorship, very violent, very brutal, and very cruel.
And from Ray Termini in Dallas, you talked about Qatar, and he asked, Qatar appears to be both an arsonist and a firefighter. It funds Hamas and offers a safe haven for its leadership, but at the same time is used by Israel and the U.S. as a mediator. What is it? Why is this happening?
Can you repeat? I didn't get to.
Sure. So he's basically saying that at the same time that Qatar funds Hamas and offers it a safe haven for leadership, they're using it by Israel and the U.S. as a mediator, asking to mediate. Which one is? Why is this happening?
Look at Qatar from America point of view. This is unique combination of the vicious and terrible entity combined with good look as public relationship. Qatar, 350,000 citizens. They do have the biggest air force base of United States of America in the whole Middle East. Second, if you try to estimate the scope of investments of Qatar in the United States and Europe, it's unbelievable. They are exporting, they are saving Europe, Germany, for example, with natural gas. They used to, they do have Al Jazeera, the TV and radio channel, in order to serve terror activities of Daesh, ISIS, and Al Qaeda, like sharing code names, whatever you like. They used to cooperate with them to keep the balance. Ideologically, they are supporting the worst vicious forces in Middle East, like Hamas and not PA. Egypt, Muslim Brothers that could change the whole Middle East. In spite of the small size, they do have megalomaniac dreams to destabilize the whole Middle East. They are negative, but because of the money, the investments, the way they are hosting guests from outside, including Israelis. But if you watch Al Jazeera in Arabic, less worse in English, you realize very quickly that this is like violent entity. And by the way, they are mediating. Who mediated between the United States of America, the superpower, and the vicious Islamic Republic of Iran about releasing hostages? Who mediated between Afghanistan and the United States? And who didn't bring solution to the disappearance of the FBI, allegedly FBI agent that was kidnapped and disappeared in Iran? And I think I don't want to say what I think because maybe I'm violating some rules of the United States. However, that's well known what I'm sharing with you. I mean, this is dual use, I call it. Terror and anti-terror. Terror and supporting United States, supporting Iran and supporting US against Iran. Supporting Muslim brothers that might change the whole Middle East. So that's the nature of this Qatar. And now we need to be supported by them because they're the only ones who do have leverage on Hamas. And without a unique pressure by the United States president, I'm not sure they would do what they're doing.
I have one final question, Avital, before I turn it back to you. This from Walter Frankel. Do you anticipate Hamas to come out weaker or stronger in the current conflict?
Hamas, as outcome of this conflict, against their hopes and assessment, they will be weaker. Because the moment you destroy the entity, the combination of government and terror organization, everything I've just shared with you, the moment you lose the entity on the ground, sovereign Palestinian Muslim Brothers entity, you lose your power and influence. Even we allow them to go to exile in Qatar. I'm sure it's like equivalent to the valuation of some currency in 500%. It's easy to say, difficult to implement, but we don't have any choice rather than to implement it and to do it.
Vital, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Daniel. Kibbutz Be'eri is one of the kibbutzes on the outskirts of Gaza that was hit badly on the atrocities of October 7. And 2 days ago, they actually replanted for the first time seeds of wheat in their fields. And we have a very famous Israeli song in Hebrew, Hachita tzomachat shuv, the wheat grows again. So on the one hand, we are sharing optimism towards the future. On the other hand, we are ready to the harsh days that are still ahead of us. General Amos Gilead, thank you so much for sharing your
but I would like to add to it something. That's the spirit of the Israelis.
True.
The person that is leading this unbelievable project of the wheat lost his son, lost his wife, and lost one of his 2 legs. So he was asked, how comes it so quickly you are doing it? He said, unfortunately, regretfully, my wife is dead. My son is dead. Half of my 2 legs, one of the 2 is cut. But we need to continue. I've listened to him 100 times. I don't believe which spirit, power, courage we do have in Israel. I'm living here since I was born here. I couldn't imagine. There are many faults of our government. I don't want to enter to it now. But the spirit of the Israeli people is unbelievable, fabulous, legendary. It will be remembered and learned in our history lessons. Thank you, Avital. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and for your insights.
Thank you, everyone, for taking part in today's program, and thank you to our global audience for tuning in. To stay up to date on the evolving situation, make sure to follow AJC social media at AJC Global, and you can find more resources and ways to take action at ajc.org/Israel Hamas War. That's ajc.org/Israel Hamas War, and the link is in the chat. Our hearts are with you in Israel today and every day. I'm Yisrael Chai. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again, and goodbye.